I'd like to welcome you to this presentation on the Gallup Strengthfinder Assessment for the Rusty Lion Academy. My name is Travis Guzzi. I'm an ICS certified life and executive coach, as well as a certified Gallup Strengths coach, and I'm excited to be sharing this presentation with you. You know, there's a saying that says life is a journey. And yet, many times before we can take that journey of life to that destination that we have in mind, we have to understand who we are and what's the best that we bring to that journey. And so it's that internal journey of self-awareness and discovery that we need to take first in order to make sure that we know what the road is that we should be traveling on. There's a quote to this that was said by Ralph Waldo Emerson that says, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are of tiny matters compared to what lies within us." And that's really what the Gallup Strengthfinder Assessment is designed to do, is to help understand what are those natural talents, the best of who we are within us, within our teams, within our organizations, to help us then understand and plot a course moving forward in life. You know, many times we can look around our lives and our teams and organizations, and sometimes it looks like West Texas. It looks like there's a lack of scarcity, there's a lack of resources there. And yet, though, like West Texas, if you just drill down just a little bit underneath the surface, you will find so much untapped potential and resources. And then again, that's what the Gallup Strengthfinder is designed to do, is to help you to drill down to see what are the untapped resources, the potential within you, your team, and your organization, and how to unleash that. Many organizations are now utilizing the Gallup Strengthfinder within their organizations. There's actually 200 out of the 500 Fortune 500 companies now utilize Strengthsfinder extensively. In fact, Facebook, they don't hire for positions, they hire for talent now. They hire people with skills and talent that they think will be beneficial to their organization. And what they do is after they have them go through the Gallup Strengthsfinder assessment, they create positions around those talents. So instead of trying to fit people within predetermined roles, they try to create roles that fit the people. Gallup has found that the key to success is to fully understand how to apply your greatest talents and strengths in your everyday life, within your organization, your business, and also your personal life as well. Now, people who focus on utilizing their strengths, Gallup has found, are 3 times more likely to report having an excellent quality of life and are actually 6 times more likely to be engaged in their jobs. So this has an impact when you understand who you are at your best and learn how to build a strengths-based life. It impacts the quality of life because you're living life aligned to the best of who you are. And you find that in your job, your career, your business, and organization, that you and those who work with you will be much more engaged when they're utilizing the best of who they are. People working in their strength zone look forward to going to work. They have more of a positive than negative interaction with coworkers. They treat customers better. They tell their friends they work for a great company. They tend to achieve more on a daily basis and have more positive, creative, and innovative moments. Gallup has also found that people who focus on utilizing their strengths maximize their potential. In fact, people who learn to utilize their strengths, Gallup has found, have a 7.8 greater productivity, and teams that receive strengths feedback, receive strengths coaching, have an 8.9% greater profitability. It was Donald Clifton, who was the founder of the Gallup organization, who once said, "What will happen when we think about what is right with people rather than fixating on what's wrong with them?" You see, that's a tendency that we have in our lives and sometimes within our organizations, is we get focused on our weaknesses. What's wrong with me and how do I fix it? How do I make it stronger in my life? Oftentimes we do this in organizations when it comes to performance reviews. Sure, there's maybe the first 5 or 10 minutes in which we focus on what an employee is doing well, but oftentimes most of that performance review is focused on what's wrong and how do we fix that. What Gallup has found is instead of fixating on our weaknesses, and it's not that we shouldn't be aware of them and know how to manage them, because our weaknesses in life can trip us up. But what Gallup has found is instead, individuals and organizations should focus on what's the best of them. What are their natural talents? How to develop them into strengths? And then instead of trying to be all things to all people, which none of us can be, is partner with those who make up what's lacking in us. And so it's be who we are, the best that we can be, manage our weaknesses, but partner with people who make up for those weaknesses. It was Marcus Buckingham, who used to work with the Gallup organization, in his book, First Break All the Rules, who said, "Don't waste time trying to put in what was left out. Try to draw out what was left in. That's hard enough." So what the Gallup Strengthsfinder does is it starts with talent and it finishes with strengths. It helps you understand what are the natural talents you have and then how to develop them into strengths in all aspects of your life. So the question is what is a talent? That's where we have to begin and where Gallup StrengthsFinder begins. Actually, StrengthsFinder is a little bit of a misnomer for this assessment. It's actually a talent finder. Now, a talent is a naturally reoccurring pattern of thought, feeling, and behavior that can be productively applied. And it's just the way that we are on a natural daily basis. When we're really living authentic selves, it's how we think, it's how we feel, it's how we behave. And what Gallup has found is that there are these 34 different talent themes that seem to be universal to all people all around the world of all cultures that leads to success in life. And again, success isn't always the bottom line. Success is also fulfillment and engagement in life as well. So talents help us understand who we are. They describe us at our best. They influence the choices we make. They direct our actions. They explain why we're better at some things than we are at others. And they really become, a sense, a filter of how we see the world around us and how we see other people. We see them through our talents. I kind of equate our talents like these big thoroughbred horses. Horses are bred to run. They love to run. But if unbridled and untrained, they could run wild or trample on people. But when we learn to take a horse and we train them and break them, they become something that can be useful to us and serve. And there's a wonderful partnership between rider and horse. Well, our talents are the same way. If left unchecked, they could run our lives or they could trample on other people. But when we not only recognize what our talents are, but we harness them and we develop them into strengths, they become something useful and serve our purposes in life. Here are some clues to understand if you have a talent. You'll find that if you have a talent, you have yearning for certain activities. There's rapid learning involved when you're utilizing your talent. You'll find yourself kind of finding those moments of flow. Don't know if any of you have ever played basketball, but that moment where the hoop seems a mile wide and you can't miss, and it seems like time slows down. That's a moment of flow. And really, when we learn how to live out our talents and develop them into strengths, we can find these moments of flow where we lose sense of time. We get glimpses of excellence, and we find deep satisfaction when we're living out our talents. Well, the question now is, we've understood what a talent is. What is a strength? A strength is something that one does consistently with near perfect performance, oftentimes without even thinking about it. It's that we've taken that talent and we've developed it so much in our life that we live it out on a daily basis, and many times, like breathing, we're not even aware that we're doing that. Now, here's a strengths equation. This is how we take a talent and how we develop it as a strength. So you begin with talent. That's what the Gallup StrengthsFinder assessment helps you to do, is understand what are your natural talents, the best of who you are. And it's when we add knowledge, when we add skills, and when we add experience, that's when we get a strength in our life. A great analogy for this is the game of basketball. I'm a big basketball fan. And in basketball, if you have somebody who has talent, they're 6'9", they can leap out of the gym. But if they have no skills, they've never actually learned how to dribble a basketball or shoot, and they have no experience or knowledge of the game, they're just going to be potential all day long. Now, if you have somebody who has all the knowledge in the world of the game but have no talent and they have no experience or skills, you probably get a basketball coach or an analyst on ESPN. Or if you have somebody who has all the skill in the world, they can shoot 100 free throws blindfolded, but they've got no talent, say they're 5'6" and can't jump, and they have no knowledge of the game or experience, what you have is a halftime act who's going to wow the crowds, but they're never going to get in the game. But when you take talent and add knowledge and skill and experience, you get somebody like Michael Jordan. Yes, he was phenomenally talented, but it wasn't just talent alone that allowed him to succeed. He was also a student of the game. He studied the game and added great knowledge. He also worked hard to develop skills, both on the offensive and defensive end, and it was the experience. He actually had to lose for a number of seasons before he started learning how to win. When you put it together, you have one of the greatest players of all time in the NBA. Now, this is something I love when it comes to StrengthsFinder, is it really helps us understand the uniqueness of who we are. When you take a look at your Gallup StrengthsFinder assessment and you take a look at your top 5 strengths, that's the best of who you are. It's kind of that cream that rises to the top. They find that only 1 out of 33.4 million people will have your top 5 strengths in that exact same order. But it gets even better than that. When you take your top 10 strengths, only 1 out of 447 trillion people in the world will have your top 10 strengths in the exact same order. And if you were to take all 34 strengths in the exact same order, you're only going to find 1 out of 295 followed by 36 zeros. What this means is that we are one of a kind. We're one of a kind like a fingerprint. We're one of a kind like a snowflake. And that's just our strengths and our talents, not let alone our personality and other talents that Gallup doesn't measure for, like music or technical abilities or athletic ability, or the experiences that we have in life. And really what it really speaks to is we each are unique, here to make a contribution and a difference that only we can make at this point in human history. That's how unique we are, and that's the power that StrengthsFinder can be. So let's take a look at how each one of us are unique and how Gallup speaks into that with the StrengthsFinder assessment. There's a great book that was written by Tom Rath called Strengths-Based Leadership. And within that, what the authors did, was they took all 34 talent themes and they laid them out according to 4 strengths domains. And so you'll find each of these strengths falling under either the first domain of executing, which is really a desire to achieve. There's the second domain of strategic thinking. These are very intellectual kind of themes. The third domain is influencing themes. These are the talent themes that have an impact to motivate and inspire other people. And then the last is the relationship building theme. This is putting others first. It's that relational glue that holds people and teams and organizations together. If you're to take all 34 themes and you lay them down according to this strengths-based domain chart, here you have in purple the executing themes. In yellow, you have the influencing themes. You have the relationship building themes in blue, and you have the strategic thinking themes. So this is really important. We're going to work on that as we do strengths coaching together, is to help you understand where your strengths lie in each one of these domains. Here's an example for you to understand. This is my top 5 strengths. My number 1 is an includer. I love to include people, and I lead by including. My number 2 is ideation. I love ideas and concepts. That's a strategic thinking theme. My number 3 is also strategic thinking. It's being strategic. I not only have 5 strategies, but give me 5 minutes and I'll give you 5 more strategies. And so it's really how to take an idea and move it forward. I have connectedness, which is another relationship building theme. It's really seeing the interconnection between people and events and ideas. And then my last, again, is a strategic thinking theme, which is futuristic. I'm fascinated and I love the idea of the future and have visions of the future. And when combined with my ideation and strategic, I love to think about the future and find ways to make that a reality. Now, when you lay out my strengths on these 4 domains, you'll see that 2 of my strengths, my number 1 and my number 4, fall in the relationship building theme. I have some talent themes that really are very relational in nature. My ideation, strategic, and futuristic fall in the strategic thinking theme. I spend a lot of time in my head thinking about ideas in the future and strategy. Now, you'll notice what I don't have in my top 5, the best of who I am. I don't have a lot of executing, and I don't have a lot of influencing. Now, instead of trying to be who I'm not, Gallup would suggest that I need to find out so I can be the best of who I am, partner with those who have executing and influencing themes and have developed them into strengths in their life. That's really where I'll be able to live out the best of who I am. So for example, Gallup suggests that with my ideation, strategic, and futuristic, I need somebody who is an executor, somebody who has a achiever or they have an activator, that they're able to take ideas and actually put them into action and get others to join in as well. Also, one thing that's important, and we're not going to spend a lot of time in this, but we'll get into this in the coaching a little bit, is theme dynamics. That none of our themes dance alone. They always dance with a partner. And so all of our talent themes, our strengths, are always dancing with one another. So my includer partners with my ideation, my includer partners with my strategic, my includer dances with my connectedness and with my futuristic. And so instead of just looking at each of our talent themes individually, it's also helping to understand how do they interplay with each other in the dynamic, the synergy that develops from that as well. Now, we've asked you with the Rusty Lion Academy to take your full 34 report. And so when you take a look at your report, and it's going to list it from number 1 on down to number 34, your top 5 are really your dominant themes. That's the best of who you are. That's the cream that rises to the top. But what's important also to understand, and why we wanted you to take your full 34 Strengthsfinder report, is it's important to understand what are your supporting themes. That's really kind of your next 6 through 10, 6 through 12 that hold up and support those top themes that you have. And then there's your bottom themes. Now, it's important to remember that your bottom themes are not weaknesses. You have some of this inside of you. It's just not the best of who you are. So I kind of equate these 3 kind of like going to Starbucks. When I go in, a tall latte is great, but it's not really satisfying. That's like your bottom themes, your lesser themes. Now, a grande latte, that's a little more satisfying. That's kind of like your supporting themes, your next 6 to 10, 6 to 12. It's going to kind of satisfy that craving you have. But really, the best when I walk into Starbucks is when I get a venti latte. That's my top 5. That's the big cup, and I get more out of that enjoyment and that pleasure from enjoying my latte. So that's maybe a way to kind of think about this. So when we start working in not just our top 5 strengths, that venti latte, and working in our grande latte of our next 6 to 10, 6 to 12 supporting strengths, you see that actually I do bring some other talent themes to the table. I do have some more when it comes to relationship building. I'm very relational in my leadership and what I do. I do have an influencing theme with my self-assurance, and I actually can get some things done with my 10, 11, and 12. I have responsibility, so I take ownership. I have belief that I can accomplish things, and I do have focus to focus in on that task. So I do have, but still, for me to really be the best of who I am with my top 5, it's better for me to partner with some people who make up in that executing and influencing, so I really can focus in on the relationship building and strategic thinking that I have. So we're going to work through this graph with you in our coaching so you understand how this not only applies for your life, but who would it be best for you to partner with as well. This is another way to think about it where we don't classify it so much as numbers of the rankings of our strengths, but to think about how they interact together. And again, we'll work through this in our coaching together to create forward momentum. One of the things that's important that Gallup talks about is name it, claim it, and to aim it. Really, when it comes to taking your Gallup StrengthsFinder report, your assessment, that's naming it. You get some names on this assessment tool, and while there might be some resonance with it, they really just remain words on a page until you begin to claim it. And that's what we're going to do in our coaching together, is we're going to help you really claim those to see that, yeah, that's really me. And then how to take that when you understand and create that self-awareness that these really are you at your best. Now how to begin to aim it. How do we add knowledge, skill? How do we add that experience? How do we begin to aim it in our relationships, our work settings, and situations in life so that you can really build a strengths-based life? Now, part of what we looked at is not only who you are, but we've also looked at how we partner together with others who make up for what's lacking. But I want to bring this together in just a little bit of an analogy for you that I think will help. Our family, especially on a cold winter night here in Idaho, we love to play Jenga. It's a great game, strategy game. For me, being strategic, it's really good, and it's a lot of fun. In a lot of ways, when we think about our talents, they're kind of like these Jenga blocks. And for you to have a great tower, you got to have a firm foundation. That's what our talents are. And as we start living out life, we start adding skills on top of our talents. So we're in our preschool and elementary, we start adding different skills that really build on top of our talents. But as we go along in life, we suddenly, when we get into high school and we get into college, we start getting more and more more and more skills that we start building that aren't based on our talents, but they're really unsupported when it comes to life. And the more that you build out, the less stable a tower or a structure will be. It's the same way in our life. The more that we build rather than up, but out, and it's unsupported by the natural talents and strengths that we have, that's when we start getting into what's called the stress zone. That's when all of a sudden burnout happens. That's where breakdowns happen. That's where we feel so overloaded because we're doing tasks that don't line up with the best of who we are. Now, there's always going to be some skills within our jobs and things in life that aren't supported by talent, but the more that you can build up rather than out, the more of a strengths-based life you will have. And here's the dangers when you build out too far, just like a Jenga tower that doesn't have a stable foundation, it can come crashing down. And sometimes the consequences are much more in life greater than a game of Jenga. And so the idea is, like I talked about, is to build up, discover your talents, how to develop them into strengths, and then build skills that line up to that, and to live life as much as you can based on those talents and strengths, and then partner with those who have complementary talents and skills in our stress zone so that we don't necessarily have to go out, but we can build more up in life. There's really power together and synergy that comes in teams when people with different talents come together and they work together, that they can accomplish much more together than any one person can individually. One of the things we're going to encourage you to do is to be a strength scout. Celebrate the strengths of colleagues and others in your life. As Peter Drucker, the business guru, who once said, most people think they know what they're good at. They're usually wrong. And yet, a person can only perform out of strength. One of the things we want to encourage you to be is a strength scout, to celebrate your colleagues' strengths and those in your life. It was Peter Drucker, the business guru, who once said, most people think they know what they're good at. They're usually wrong. And yet, a person can only perform only from strengths. One more time. We want to encourage you to be a strength scout. Celebrate your colleagues' strengths, those in your life, what they're best at. It was Peter Drucker, the business guru, who once said, people think they know what they're good at. They're usually wrong. And yet a person can perform only from strength. And so as you begin to grow in the language of strength and see this in your own life, look for strengths in action in other people. As you learn the language of strengths, you'll find that you'll more and more spot the natural talents and strengths in other people's lives. And when you spot a colleague or a friend or somebody in your family using a strength, write them, him or her, a short note and describe what you saw and reinforce the value of his or her talent, themes, and strengths. It's a little bit of a corny theme, but the acronym TEAM. Together, everyone achieves more. That's the power of strength, when everybody understands the best that they bring, and you bring that together, that you can have a strengths-based team within your organization. And so questions as you think about your Strengthfinder report before we come to our coaching together is, first of all, what are the unique contributions that I bring to my vision for life as a result of my strengths? And then the second question, who do I need to partner with who brings complementary strengths to mine in order to move my vision forward. I'm excited to be working with you. Think about questions that you may have in our coaching time. I'm very happy to receive those by email or correspondence during our coaching time before or after. And if you have any questions, I'd like to just encourage you to reach out to me via email at tguzzi@rustylionacademy.com. All the best to you, and I look forward to working with you in doing some strengths coaching together.